Well, tonight, demands for justice after a video circulates showing an attack on an elderly man collecting cans in San Francisco. KPIX5's Andrea Borba on how community leaders are uniting to stop the violence. Andrea?
Well, Alan, just in the last 15 minutes, KPIX5 has confirmed the identity of the man in that video. We will not release that identity. We can say that he is a 70-year-old man from Guangdong province in China. He's been here in San Francisco for the past 6 years, and collecting cans is how he supports himself.
Yeah, OG!
Late this afternoon, the Chinese recycler at the heart of an awful video was identified by San Francisco police officers. No initial report was filed over the incident, where it appears people in the Bayview district stole the man's cans and then taunted him using racial epithets and at one point hitting him with some kind of object. A second video of the incident came to light this morning. We are only using a still frame of it. In the video, guards from a security company called Critical Intervention Patrol can be seen interacting with the victim, though it's not clear what they said or did. In a statement, the company's CEO Daniel Frankham says his company is also looking into the incident. Our investigations unit is currently investigating this matter. While this investigation is underway, it would be premature and unfair to make any statements at this time. Lai Hua-Wu is from the Chinese Progressive Association.
We, as a community, need to do better at not resorting to the hateful language, to not resort to similar tactics against our communities. And it's an important reminder that we have to continue to build bridges with each other.
The Chinese Progressive Association developed a joint statement with Coleman Advocates on the incident. Kevin Bogus is the political director for Coleman Advocates.
I think there's a lot of economic insecurity in San Francisco, and people are feeling it. And when like that happens, people do really ridiculous things. And things that I think no one finds acceptable, and no one wants to happen in their community or neighborhood.
We know that this afternoon, that man in his 70s sat down with San Francisco police investigators to tell his side of the story. What we do not know at this point is if SFPD has made any progress in identifying the suspects who attacked him this weekend.
Jamie Nelson says she was never given the chance to protect her son from a convicted child abuser because she says his school covered up this assault. She also believes there was more than one attack, but says the school district is still stonewalling her, so she doesn't know for sure. What she does know is that even though this is hard to watch, she wants you to see what happened here so she can try to make sure it never occurs again. Jamie Nelson can never forget her son's screams for help.
Our job is to protect our kids, and the school didn't give me that chance because they hid it from me.
Jamie says it took her weeks to learn what happened to her 7-year-old on the school bus. This bus aide was recently convicted of child abuse from this incident. But Jamie says even though it happened 18 months ago, she still doesn't have answers or an apology from Ann Arbor Public Schools.
I mean, it can't happen again. I'm disgusted that it happened once, and I'm fearful that there's no reason it would change if someone didn't come forward.
Jamie's son is autistic and severely emotionally impaired. Back in December of 2021, she fought to get him into a special education program at Carpenter Elementary. But after his first day, when he got off the school bus, Jamie knew something was seriously wrong.
He ran past me, ran in the house, slammed the door, and actually locked me out, something he has never done in his life. And the bus aide gets off the bus, and she is worked up, and she said, "They say I can't hit him, so I don't know what you want me to do."
Jamie says she was stunned and asked why the aide had not been told that her son was special needs, especially because each of the kids on that special ed bus are in the same program.
She would call me and say, like, "I'm about to videotape him and show you what he's doing." And then she would threaten him while she was on the phone with me, saying things like, "You're going to get in trouble when you get home." And I said, that doesn't work with him.
Jamie alerted the school right away about the bus aide and her son's intense reaction every time he got home. She says she wasn't told for 5 weeks that this is what really happened, just days after her son started at the school. Bus aide Rashonda Jefferson can be seen on video aggressively slamming the child into a seat and then puts him in a harness, something Jamie says is illegal for her son. You can see the aide hit the child while he's restrained. Then the terror for the boy continues as he tries to get away and gets caught in the harness straps.
You did that. I did. No, you did that. Don't ask me.
I didn't know how anyone in the world couldn't help a child. And she stood there and she said, I'm not going to help you. You got yourself into this.
Once the boy frees himself, the aide then tells the bus full of special needs students that they could all go to jail.
That's okay. He's going to jail. What? You open up your jail.
Even though she kept asking school officials questions about her son's extreme distress, Jamie says it took more than a month for Carpenter's principal to reveal in this email that there have been 2 incidents shared that have resulted in unsafe conditions for her son and other students on the bus. Jamie asked to see the video of those incidents, but was only allowed to see this footage months later when the police got involved.
He didn't get on that bus. Adults in authority who could have saved him put him on that bus and told him to walk up those stairs with that woman still there.
And that's not all. Jamie says she later learned that several special ed students on that bus told officials at the school right away about the assault. Yet Jamie says nothing was done. That's why she feels now she has no choice but to sue the district, the bus company, and the school principal.
It took months and repeated formal requests.
Megan Benani and Danielle Canepa are Jamie's attorneys.
What stands out to me about this case is the indifference of the school administrators when they became aware of the reports from children about the abuse of the child in this case.
Our concern is that if this had happened on a bus carrying a general population of students, there would have been emails sent district-wide. The aide would have been immediately taken off of the bus and an investigation would have ensued.
Jamie and her lawyers say they want to see the laws improved in Michigan to keep kids safe.
What do you want to see changed on a statewide level?
Protection for children from the moment they walk into the doors of the school until they walk into the doors of their home. And this didn't happen here.
Jamie says she's grateful the bus aide was convicted and won't be able to work with children again. But she says her son's trauma is still ever present.
The world is already hard for him. You know, it's hard for special needs kids. And the last thing he needs is one more thing. Like the last thing he needs is another trauma, another reason to mistrust people, another reason to be scared in this world.
A spokesman for Ann Arbor Public Schools sent us a statement that says in part, quote, "The safety of students and staff is always the top priority of the Ann Arbor Public Schools. Staff at Carpenter Elementary and the transportation team followed appropriate procedures in responding to this unfortunate incident. AAPS and the Durham transportation team removed the offending individual from duty on the day the incident was observed on the video and contacted Child Protective Services immediately. I have also reached out to the bus aide, but so far she and her attorney have not responded to us.
Beaumont man faces charges after police say he was involved in a chase in a stolen truck. This started at the Barkley Manor Apartments off Crow Road just after 2 this morning. Police say DeMonte Chopin, along with a teen, stole a white Dodge Ram. He eventually lost control and wrecked at the intersection of Concord and Plum. Police found a gun in the vehicle. Chopin is in the Jefferson County Jail. The teen taken to the Minnie Rogers
Absolutely,
Juvenile Justice.
Police have arrested and charged 2 teens that they believe are connected to this case. They've both been hit with weapons charges, a 19-year-old from New Haven and an 18-year-old from Bridgeport. But police tell us they're just waiting on one last piece of evidence to make sure that they are in fact connected to the shootout that happened yesterday morning. Now, in the meantime, we spoke with a lot of East Rock neighbors, and they are truly just shaken up by all of this. Local Mobile police scanners catching the moment 23 rounds were fired in a matter of minutes in the East Rock neighborhood of New Haven. It all happened just before 9 a.m. on Monday.
It's disturbing and upsetting, but it takes a while to sink in.
Eric Brunstad has lived here for 2 years. Every once in a while, he says something bad happens, but nothing like this.
Yeah, it was early in the morning. I was just getting up and getting ready for the day, and I heard this loud banging, and I just assumed it was a car backfiring as it was going down the street.
Turns out it was a shootout. Police say 2 cars, an Acura and a Dodge Durango, were chasing each other and shooting at one another. They traveled to multiple blocks in the city, but mainly it all happened on Livingston and Lawrence Streets and on Whitney Ave.
There was a lot of rounds. It's not a good situation when you have 23 rounds in a residential area.
I just wanted to acknowledge that it was really, a real scary event for the community.
Police say the bullets struck at least 1 car sitting on the street but didn't hurt anyone. 10 area schools were placed on lockdown until the scene was safe. Neighbors say it happened right as kids were on their way to class.
There's some people I know that live around here. They have 3 kids. They're at the bus stop.
Later, police found the Acura in Fairhaven with several bullet holes. They say that car was stolen out of Hamden the day before. They recovered the other car, too. Police surrounded the suspects at a home in Hamden where they found 2 more illegal guns, which they believe could be connected to other crimes.
The people involved were well known to us, so we do think that this will match a lot of gunfire that has occurred in the city.
Now, police tell us the 2 teens have been charged with criminal possession of a weapon, carrying a pistol without a permit, carrying those guns in cars, and also larceny of a motor vehicle. Once again, police right now are just waiting on those lab results to come back so that they can make sure that the guns the teens were found with do match the bullet casings that were found on the scene of the shootout. Once we learn that, we will, of course, update you.
It was 3 years ago when someone was shot dead inside a home in a normally quiet section of Mayfair. Tonight, investigators are hoping someone might have information to help them solve this case and bring the gunman to justice. Here is Rick Williams with tonight's Crime Fighters report.
Neighbors along the 3000 block of Glenview Street in Philadelphia's Mayfair section say the street is normally quiet.
I lived here like 31 years of my life, and I never really heard anything like this so close to home.
This incident happened on September 11th of 2020 at about 3:30 a.m.
Police were called for a shooting inside of a home.
I heard a good 6 to 8 gunshots, and then next thing I know, I heard a car flying down the driveway.
Upon arrival there, they find the deceased. He's in the living room. He's been shot in the face and chest, and subsequently pronounced dead.
The man killed was 24-year-old Terry Singletary. Those living on the block don't want to show their faces until his killer is caught.
We don't know why, what, how, who, why it happened. It's so close to home.
Investigators say 4 men broke in through a basement door. Police say drugs were found in the home, as well as 6 9mm shell casings.
So the police are hoping that maybe somebody at this hour of the morning looked out the window, saw something, maybe heard something in the neighborhood subsequent, and they could use this information to help solve the case.
The city of Philadelphia is offering up to $20,000 in reward money for information that leads to the arrest and conviction of the person responsible. All you have to do is call the Citizens Crime Commission at 215-546-TIPS. All calls will remain anonymous.
A road rage murder suspect is behind bars 2 years after being exonerated for a different murder. 46-year-old Lydell Grant appeared in court last night and is now charged in the murder of Edwin Arevalo off of Hiram Clark Drive on Thursday.
KPRC 2's Corley Peel explains why the judge set the bond at $1 million.
The judge made a comment that Lydell Grant's arrest is a concern for community safety after that crash and deadly shooting here off Hiram Clark Drive, where a memorial has now been placed with roses and balloons for Edwin Arevalo. Lydell Grant is quiet as he stands before a judge.
Mr. Grant, you are here charged with a first-degree felony offense of murder.
Grant is accused of shooting and killing Edwin Arevalo during a road rage incident late Thursday night. A dozen roses, a stuffed elephant, and a balloon now lay at the scene for Arevalo by a tree still wrapped in caution tape. Investigators say surveillance video from a nearby gas station showed Grant leaving in his car with a woman. While turning onto Hiram Clark Drive, police say Arevalo crashed into Grant's car. Grant got out of his car and shot Arevalo in the head and chest, killing him. A nearby neighbor told me through her security system that she heard the gunshots. Grant drove off, but police were able to get his license tag number from the surveillance video. The clues helped homicide detectives identify Grant as their suspect and arrest him on Friday.
So the court is concerned for community safety. Bond will be set at $1 million.
Records show Grant has prior felonies and misdemeanor charges. This isn't Grant's first run-in with a murder charge. 2 years ago, Grant walked out of prison with his hands up as a free man after being wrongfully convicted in 2012 for a deadly stabbing outside a Montrose bar. The Innocence Project helped overturn his conviction. We reached out to them about his arrest. They sent us a statement saying they are saddened by the tragic news. They say, "We stand behind Mr. Grant's previous exoneration, which was granted by the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals. DNA evidence and the confession of the real perpetrator of the crime prove Mr. Grant's actual innocence. His 2012 conviction was proven wrongful, and he spent 8 years in prison as a result." Grant's brother tells KPRC2 his family is not commenting on his recent arrest, but he says Grant has not been right since his exoneration. I've been following this case since Friday, and since then I've asked multiple employees here at the gas station if we could look at that surveillance video, but they told me they're not able to let us see it. As for the woman who was in the car with Grant at the time of that shooting, there's no word at this time if she is going to be facing any charges, but this is an ongoing investigation, and we will continue to keep you updated as we learn more on air and online at click2houston.com.
The widow of a Microsoft executive assassinated in a suspected murder-for-hire plot says she's living in fear.
Until everyone involved is behind bars, you don't know what they're capable of doing. Obviously, they're capable of murdering my husband. So there is a sense of fear.
Kirsten Bridegan's husband, Jared, was gunned down last February. Their 2-year-old daughter, sitting in the car seat, was the only eyewitness.
Conspiracy to commit murder in the first degree.
Prosecutors say 61-year-old Henry Tenen put a tire in the middle of the road to stop Jared's car and shot him when he got out to move it.
Henry Tenen did not act alone.
Is he a hired hitman? Get this. Tenen rented this house in Jacksonville, Florida, from Mario Fernandez, who is now married to Jared's ex-wife, Shanna. Tenen's former roommate spoke with Good Morning America.
Mario owns the house that we both had rented from him. The ATF and Jacksonville Beach Police, raided my house, took me downtown to interrogate me for hours. Who is Mario? What does he do? I'm like, he was my landlord, bro.
Jared Bridegan was secretly afraid he might be murdered, according to his brother Adam. Jared actually told you in the past, I think someone may try to kill me?
He definitely feared that something like this could happen to him with the divorce. And so it breaks my heart. It's gut-wrenching.
Jared's ex now lives in Washington State. She denies any involvement. Mario Fernandez could not be reached for comment. Meanwhile, little Bexley, who saw her father gunned down, remains traumatized. Is Bexley going to have to testify in all this?
She's been through enough. She does not need to be there and have to see the people involved in her father's murder.
A man behind bars tonight accused of assaulting 2 people outside of a local synagogue. Police say the victims were attacked because of their faith. NBC6 reporter Arlene Borenstein is live on Sunny Isles Beach with the details. Arlene?
Jackie, it's a time when the Jewish community usually celebrates a holiday called Sukkot, and this is when they celebrate their fall harvest. But instead, some members of the Jewish community received death threats.
Something like this is not going to be allowed. It's not going to be tolerated.
It was an act of hate that landed 66-year-old Larry Frankie Green in front of a Miami-Dade court judge. Prosecutors describing a chilling scene against members of the Jewish community in Sunny Isles Beach after they left a synagogue Monday night.
The defendant raised the knife over his head, made threats to kill them, and lunged at one of the victims with the knife, raising imminent fear of death.
According to police documents, Green, a homeless man, approached 2 men wearing yarmulkes on the 18,000 block of Collins Avenue and began threatening the men with a knife.
One of the victims stated that he personally felt he would have tried to kill me or any other Jewish person because of their Jewish beliefs.
Police say they located a knife on Green matching the defendant's description, and they say he made anti-Semitic remarks while in police custody. Sunny Isles police said they were on alert. It was a Jewish holiday.
We basically have a one-on-one relationship with the heads of these houses of worship, where we speak directly with them, ascertain what they're doing, what they need from us, and basically we cut off any issues before they arise.
The suspect actually approached the two men with a Hebrew alias, the name Elijah Israel. He's now facing 2 counts of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, a $50,000 bond, and since it is considered a hate crime, the state attorney could consider
Service officials need your help identifying a suspect who robbed a letter carrier. Take a good look at your screen. The incident occurred last Friday near Maryland Parkway and Sahara. If you recognize this person, any information you give will remain confidential, police say. Anything that leads to an arrest could result in a $50,000 reward. Robbing a post office employee is a federal offense, punishable by up to 25 years behind bars.
The NOPD is searching for a female armed robber. We have cell phone video of the woman in black darting out from behind a tree and pointing a gun in the 3700 block of Dauphine Street Friday. The victims were 2 men and a woman. The robber demanded their money and they handed it over. When they started yelling for help, she ran away.
With the exception of reporters, lawyers, sheriff's officers, and the judge, there was no one in the courtroom to hear Khalil Wheeler Weaver's mumbled not guilty plea this morning. No family members of the teenage victim he's now charged with killing in October of 2016. The body of 15-year-old Mawa Doumbia of Newark was found almost 3 years later, but only identified last November. She was the 4th victim of the serial killer who authorities say lured his victims to him through dating apps and sometimes a promise of money for sex and then strangled them.
That monster should never see daylight again.
Family members of the other victims were there when Wheeler Weaver was sentenced to 160 years in prison for the murders of 3 women when he went on a killing spree in the fall of 2016. College student Sarah Butler of Montclair, 19-year-old Robin West of Philadelphia, and 33-year-old Joanne Brown of Newark. Sophia was a friend.
Joanne was fellowshipping with Christian Love. She had changed her life doing community service, spending her time flowering with us, being an aunt to my daughter, being a sister to a group of friends.
The arraignment lasted all of 3.5 minutes. Wheeler Weaver won't be eligible for parole for another 145 years. Sophia Merritt says she always thought that serial killers presented as monsters, like Freddy Krueger, not like this.
What could he have ever gone through that would give him such a dislike to his own sister? I can't even imagine. I can't. I pray that God ministers to his heart, but I want justice. I don't want him to have a moment of peace. All the women that he harmed and hurt, he should pay for.
As they did in some of the previous cases, prosecutors say they had found a lot of digital evidence that Wheeler Weaver had contacted the 15-year-old online. He's expected back here in court in January. In Newark, Pat Battle, News 4, New York.
To appear in court next week. He's the man charged with killing HPD officer ᵛᵉʳᶦᶠᶦᵉ in late March.
Yeah, at the time of the shooting, Laws was already facing 2 counts of second-degree assault for allegedly shooting 2 people in Huntsville last year. News 19's Mariah Wicks joins us now with the very latest on both those cases.
Good morning, Stephen Lauren. The charges for the Huntsville police officers shooting are still unfolding. And the case with the shootings involving 2 other men have still not been presented to a Madison County grand jury. But Juan Laws is expected to appear in court on May 24th for a preliminary hearing for the officer-involved shooting. The purpose of a preliminary hearing is for prosecutors to lay out the case they have against the defendant. That's in order to persuade a judge there's enough evidence to send the case to a grand jury. The killing of Officer Crumbie and the shooting of Officer Albert Morin is still under investigation, and that's according to an Alabama law enforcement agency spokesman. Currently, Laws is charged with 1 count of capital murder with other charges pending. Laws is charged with capital murder in the death of Officer Crumbie, which can carry a death sentence if he's convicted. Additionally, charges are expected in Officer Crumbie's death and Officer Marin's shooting. The Madison County's DA's office will decide on charges once the investigation is complete, and if Laws is convicted of capital murder, he faces the death penalty. And capital murder cases generally take 2 years or more to reach trial.
Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office is sharing the bizarre details of a homicide that took place yesterday at the Travel Lodge on the West Bank Expressway. The victim, 54-year-old Yolanda Dillon, or Dillian I should say, was a civilian employee of the New Orleans Police Department. She was moonlighting on her second job as an Uber driver. Her alleged killer caught an Uber from the East Bank and was staying at the hotel on the West Bank. He was arrested last night after an investigation.
His confession basically was stated that he woke up yesterday morning and decided he was going to kill someone, and decided that was going to be the day, and thought it was going to be the first Uber driver of where he went, and knew he wasn't going to have a ride back, and ended up having a ride back and killing her. And when we asked him specifically, how did you pick her, his response was, I didn't pick her, Uber picked her.
So the man charged with killing Dillian is 29-year-old Brandon Jacobs, seen here on the hotel surveillance video getting out of Dillian's car after stabbing the victim. When it came to a stop, he is charged with second-degree murder.
3 people were arrested for having drugs and guns in their possession in a King Street parking garage. According to Charleston police, officers were patrolling the garage when they noticed a suspicious vehicle. Police found a handgun on the floorboard of the car, an AR-15, 3 additional firearms, and nearly 140 grams of marijuana. This is all found in that police report. None of the people, we are told, had concealed weapons permits.
Good evening. Violent teenagers have filmed themselves bashing a disabled woman in a sickening attack at Southern Cross Station.
Youth crime experts say it's part of a growing trend. Teens even planning attacks in advance to post online for likes on social media. And a warning, some viewers may find these images confronting.
A woman with Down syndrome set upon by 2 teenagers. Their violent attack filmed by friends. After taunting her, they punched her repeatedly in the face, throwing her to the ground and kicking her in the head. An elderly man passing by stepped in as the woman lay helpless on the ground at Southern Cross Station. The brutality all proudly posted on social media.
That was angry. You got what you deserve. They're actually planning some of these activities as well so that they can kind of have the next best video.
Weaponizing social media and using it as content is the bit that has myself really infuriated, but it has parents in my office in tears, scared for their kids.
Last week, a 15-year-old girl was ambushed at random on camera in Mildura. Her 12-year-old attacker then followed her, unleashing blow after blow to her head. Bragging of the crime online. Police let her off with a warning.
I don't think they're concerned necessarily about being caught. They're not hiding their identities.
There's no ramifications for the people posting this stuff and creating these sorts of accounts. It's absolutely disgusting. There's been kids as young as 8 years old that have been attacked.
The youth crime crisis isn't limited to the streets. Staff in the state's newly opened Cherry Creek Youth Detention Centre say they're facing regular attacks and even gang warfare, and the government's under pressure to act.
Staff are scared, and we've had over 37 codes just in the last few days.
The state government says there's only been 2 serious assaults on staff, but couldn't confirm when they occurred.
I know parents and kids are scared to come forward, but enough is enough.
Geordie Wright, 7
Don Daler is here with a very dangerous trend that seems to be spreading. Don, this is very scary stuff.
It really is. It was unclear if this was gang-related or had to do with the knockout game or both. But the violent game has become increasingly popular around the country. The goal to hit unsuspecting strangers and knock them out with a single punch. According to police, the mob started beating a customer as he got out of his car in the store's parking lot.
Let me get out the way.
Investigators say that's when 2 employees came to help. The teens attacked, kicking them until they lost consciousness.
Wait a minute. Oh.
A witness says some of the kids threw pumpkins at one of the unconscious victims.
My God. Wait a minute, get him, y'all. Somebody call somebody.
It didn't seem real. It didn't seem like any of that would happen.
The witness, who asked not to be identified, says this was part of a violent game.
They were playing a game called Point 'em Out, Knock 'em Out, where they would point someone out and then attempt to knock them out or attempt to fight them, and there was no real reason behind it.
Suspected cases of knockout game have been popping up around the country. In Pittsburgh, this unsuspecting teacher was hit so hard he fell head first into the curb. And last month in New York, a 72-year-old man was knocked to the ground in the middle of the day for no apparent reason. Police have not revealed a possible motive in the Memphis attack, but the city's mayor says this kind of thing won't be tolerated.
We're not going to accept this. Well, they didn't have anything to do, so they went out and formed a mob. That dog will not hunt in Memphis, Tennessee.
While the video appears to show black teens attacking a white victim, that witness says some of the victims were also black and that the mob was a mix of races. Police have not said the violence was racially motivated.
Whatever the motivation,
It's a dumb game.
Yeah, it just makes you angry and sick at the same time when you're looking at the video.
And the crowd watching was laughing.
Yeah, I heard that. Also disturbing.
Breakthrough in the investigation surrounding the disappearance of Portage mother Heather Kelly.
Kalamazoo County prosecutors are moving forward with open murder charges against her boyfriend, who's been considered a suspect since Kelly went missing. News 8's David Horat continues our coverage tonight from our Kalamazoo studio. David.
Well, Sue and Brian, not only is Carlos Watts Jr. charged in this case, court documents detail key evidence, including witness testimony of what happened to Kelly 13 months ago.
We have reached a point in this investigation where we are going to take the next step.
Today, prosecutors filed open murder charges against Kelly's boyfriend, 38-year-old Carlos Watts Jr. Since her disappearance, he's been in federal custody on escape charges after cutting off the tether he was wearing while on parole for a 2010 cocaine conspiracy that included a murder-for-hire plot. Before then, court records say that same tether was inactive for several hours the night Kelly went missing and was turned back on the next morning. Watts' sentencing on the federal escape charges is expected to be later this week.
These charges will allow for an orderly transfer from federal custody to state custody of Mr. Watts after that sentencing occurs.
New court documents detail some of the breakthrough discoveries, including a person telling investigators that Watts admitted to killing Heather by striking her in the head with a blunt object and then disposed of her body in a dumpster. Another witness who knew Watts told detectives that he said that he got rid of the expletive. Court documents also said analysis on clothing found a mile away from where Kelly's car was last found had DNA from both Kelly and Watts.
Thousands of hours, multiple team members have been involved in, and today's just another point in that.
However, Kelly's remains have yet to be found after investigators took many steps to prove whether signs of life exist, to which nothing indicates she is alive. Kalamazoo County Sheriff Richard Fuller explains previous court cases nationwide set precedents for how murder charges can be filed without the discovery of victim remains.
And the prosecutors have the information that they go to submit for the warrant. They have enough information that can lead a person to believe that the homicide has occurred, but they have to prove that in court, and that's what the next step is.
Now, those new court documents also said a subject involved in the case admitted they tried to cover up the crime by setting Kelly's car on fire to try to destroy any evidence. So when we asked if there are more arrests coming, both Getting and Fuller could not comment specifics, but the sheriff did say that detectives are following all leads. If Watts is convicted of murder, either in first or second degree,
he could face life in prison.
To our other top story, take a look at this video. A parent facing charges of child abuse and neglect after allegedly helping his son beat up another child. Thank you for joining us at 4. I'm Kirsten Joy.
And I'm Brian Loftus. 39-year-old Jose Montez is behind bars after turning himself in this morning over at the Clark County Detention Center.
8 News Now's Lauren Negretti talks to the child's mother.
What started off as a fight between two kids ended with the man hitting and kicking the other right here. Clark County School District Police say Jose Montez faces charges of child abuse and battery, accused of letting his son fight and then joining in. The fight happened Wednesday, April 14th, around 2 in the afternoon, near Del H. Robinson Middle School. The kid he's shown hitting is a 13-year-old. His mother, Melissa Rodriguez, heartbroken.
Decides to just grab my son and smash him towards that fence and that sidewalk right there. It's just to see this area right now and knowing my son was like there defensive and not having anybody help him until towards the end, it's not fair.
Police say this video shows Montez kicking the teen. She took to social media for justice, and now hearing of his arrest.
That is the best news I've ever received.
After 2 trips to the hospital, she says her son is recuperating with concussion-like symptoms.
I'm just thanking God at this moment that my son is not dead, because one wrong kick towards the head, it could kill somebody.
A driver accused of killing a sick man in a road rage incident is now facing hate crime charges.
Outrage from the victim's son and the Sikh community prompted prosecutors to take another look at the case. CBS 2's Christina Fan was at the arraignment.
Rows and rows of members of the Sikh community packed into Queens County Criminal Court Tuesday, not only to support the family of 66-year-old Jasmeer Singh, but also to back the DA's decision to pursue hate crime charges against his alleged attacker.
In my mind and everybody here, if this man didn't have a turban, was younger, we know for a fact this would not have been the result of this altercation.
Police say Singh was driving with his wife on the Van Wyck Expressway October 19th when they got into a fender bender with 30-year-old Gilbert Augustine. According to prosecutors, Augustine reacted violently when Singh attempted to call the police, first commenting on his turban, then punching him 3 times in the head and neck, causing the victim to fall and die from a traumatic brain injury. Singh's heartbroken son says his parents were about to leave for a trip overseas.
The plan was shattered. They were happily boarding a flight to India. Now she will have my father's ashes in her lap in the same flight. So we are in bad shape, and I want the justice.
At Augustine's arraignment, prosecutors detailed why they decided to add manslaughter and assault as hate crimes charges. The defendant shook his head multiple times, seeming to disagree.
He called him Turban Man, not once, not twice, but 3 times angrily.
Also in the courtroom, Queens District Attorney Melinda Katz, who later on stopped by the Sikh Cultural Center to offer support to a community that suffered a recent cluster of attacks.
Why Sikhs? We are proud Americans, we are proud New Yorkers. Why we are being targeted?
Augustine pleaded not guilty to the 20-count indictment. If convicted on all charges, he could face up to 25 years in prison.
Just hours ago, we learned that Miles Bryant, a now former Doraville police officer, is facing charges in another criminal case. 11 Alive obtained a warrant from a case in 2019. It alleges that Bryant entered a home unannounced in Snellville by climbing through a bedroom window. The warrant says Bryant then walked around the home before climbing back out that same window. He's now charged with first-degree felony burglary in the case. Now, Bryant is already charged in the death of 16-year-old Susana Morales. Family members reported her missing last July, and her body was found February 6th near the Gwinnett-Barrow County line.
You know what? You couldn't ask for a better rescue team. Sheriff Ed Gonzalez posted this picture of a family of Taekwondo instructors who knew what to do to help a stranger.
A woman was screaming for help, so they sprang into action. Stephen Goen joins us live with the story tonight. Stephen, walk us through what happened.
Well, Mia, authorities believe a woman was being sexually assaulted in the business next door to this martial arts dojo. Thankfully, the family that owns Yangin Taekwondo was able to step in and use their skills to detain that suspect until the sheriff's office arrived.
Stand up!
All families fight. It's true.
Hey, horseback says, ready, 2 minutes, 10!
But for the An family, it's a way of life and the family business.
I mean, it's my everything. I started when I was 4.
Hey, hands up!
Still, this family couldn't have imagined just how important their years of Taekwondo training would be until yesterday.
Show me!
When the Ans were coming back from a late lunch around 4 p.m., 20-year-old Simon says he heard screams at the Cricket Wireless store next door.
And the second scream, yeah, we knew it was like a cry for help.
When they opened the doors, 22-year-old Hannah says they saw something horrible.
And I saw a man on top of a woman, and the woman is on the ground.
Okay, Chelia!
After that, it only took a moment for their dad, Grandmaster Han An, to jump in. He grabbed the suspect and took him down.
And he just kept him in the corner. He just kept pushing down.
Automatic self-defense, automatic taekwondo style.
Simon and his brother, 18-year-old Christian, also stepped in to help, while Hannah and her mom, Hong, took the woman back to their dojo.
Making sure that she's okay, because she needed that after that experience.
According to Sheriff Ed Gonzalez, when deputies arrived, that suspect, identified as 19-year-old Alex Robinson, was still pinned to the floor.
He was clawing his way out. He bit my dad.
Tonight, back at the dojo, Grandmaster Han didn't seem too rattled by any of it.
Yeah, of course, I'm very proud of my family.
His family just grateful, they tell me, to have been in the right place at the right time. When it comes to being called heroes,
I think everybody is calling us that, but still, I think anybody can do it.
Now, the suspect in this case was arrested and charged with sexual assault and assaulting Mr. An. The An family says they are accepting new students if you want to learn Taekwondo.
Now to a tragic discovery, a child's body found in Brays Bayou. Police say there's a high probability the body is that of a missing 2-year-old named Malia Bass. She was first reported missing Saturday morning. Our Matt Doherty is in Southeast Houston.
Investigators had been here all morning and afternoon on the banks of the bayou where the little girl's body was found. Right now, they say they don't know how she got in the water, but they do not believe this was an accident.
I'll take her out.
The mother of 2-year-old Malia Bass is inconsolable on the banks of Brays Bayou where the child's body was found this morning.
We believe that although we can't confirm it's her, there's a high probability it will be her. And we don't want to give people false hope. We want them to hold on to a little hope, but we want them to prepare for the worst.
Police say a woman was jogging when she saw the body floating in the water. This part of the bayou, not far from the campus of the University of Houston and the Gulf Freeway, is more than 25 miles from where the girl was last seen. At this apartment complex on the 10,500 block of Beechnut, police say she was last seen by her parents, who told them she'd been playing on the complex's playground. It's not far from another section of the bayou, but Acevedo says he does not believe it was an accident.
We're highly confident that foul play is involved, and what the family wants now is justice.
Today, the boyfriend of Malia's mother claimed the police search for Malia was inadequate.
Y'all supposed to have 4 or 5 dogs looking for my baby.
Houston police say they did everything in their power to look for the child. They say they believe someone else was involved. However, they say they do not have any suspect.
My baby gonna say hi to everybody, hug everybody, cause she's sweet.
Police say if you own a home or have a business that flanks the bayou, check your surveillance camera video and see if you see anything suspicious. They say if you do, call 713-2222.
Right now, there's a break in the case after the deadly shooting of a transgender woman that happened in Northwest Miami-Dade.
The suspect has been arrested in Broward County, and Local 10 News reporter Annalise Garcia joins us live outside the jail in Fort Lauderdale.
And how was the suspect taken into custody, Annalise?
Christy Janice, well, Anthony Payton II is now in custody. Sources do tell us that this is in connection to the murder of that trans woman that happened last week. Now, detectives were able to get a warrant for his arrest. They picked him up at a home in Fort Lauderdale, which is why he's in custody here in Broward County. 25-year-old Anthony Payton II now behind bars. Sources say he was arrested in connection to the murder of a trans woman in Miami last week. This is the victim, 26-year-old London Price. She was shot and killed at a home on Northwest 93rd Street and 29th Avenue. Police were searching for the suspect, Payton, which is the victim's ex-boyfriend. 1 week after the crime was committed, detectives arrested Payton at a home in Fort Lauderdale after getting a warrant for his arrest. This surveillance video, a critical clue. It shows the moments after the shooting. You see a man running away from the scene with a gun in hand. Family of the victim were pointing at the ex-boyfriend from the start.
Now, Payton facing a second-degree murder charge.
And we do expect Payton to appear in front of a judge at some point here in Broward County, and he will likely then be transferred over to Miami-Dade County where the crime occurred. We are live in Fort Lauderdale. Annalise Garcia, Local 10 News.
First tonight, an angry outburst from one of the state's most wanted sex offenders as he's charged in connection to an armed rape in Grand Rapids. 24-hour News 8's Henry Erb live in Grand Rapids on top of this story for us tonight at 6 o'clock. Henry?
Well, ᵛᵉʳᶦᶠᶦᵉ just got out of off of parole in May, but by November he was wanted so badly by Grand Rapids Police they got the U.S. Marshals Fugitive Task Force on his case. But tonight we know where Harris is. He's right here in the Kent County Jail. No bond. James Harris appeared on closed-circuit TV from the jail this morning, accused in a 7-count felony warrant. He's accused of assaulting a woman with a handgun on November 5th and the next day breaking into a home and raping a teenager at gunpoint. Today in court, he appeared disgusted, maybe bored, and felt like arguing with the magistrate.
I am going to deny a bond at this time. What is it?
Harris was sentenced in 1999 for sexually assaulting a victim under the age of 13 and was in prison and on parole till this May. He was on the state police most wanted unregistered sex offender list and led the local Silent Observer most wanted until his capture yesterday.
We done? Just about.
The magistrate explained that the nature of the charges allowed him to refuse to put him back on the street on bond, but the magistrate did set bond on some of the less serious counts, something that seemed to infuriate Harris.
The sentence is set in the bond. If I can't get out on one, I'll the bond. She just won't. We're done talking. You're all set then. Thank you, Mr. Harris.
Stolen video game is what led police to the 2 suspects accused of killing USA professor Matthew Weiser.
That detail revealed in court today as the suspects faced the judge. News 5's Nicolette Schleisman reports from Government Plaza.
A stolen Nintendo Switch may have been the key to cracking this case. During a bond hearing for both the suspects this morning, authorities said a stolen video game belonging to Professor Matthew Weiser was connected to a network and then was traced back to the suspects, Derek Scott and Takez Timmons. Their bonds were set at $150,000 each with electronic monitoring if either of them is released. Weiser was found shot to death in his home last month. Police said it appeared he was killed in a home invasion robbery. Now, according to the district attorney's office, Scott and Timmons were allegedly committing burglaries together. They say Timmons would drop off Scott, who would go into the homes. The 2 will be back in court Wednesday for an arraignment.
Guys, that's right. And according to this PC affidavit, that victim actually saw a police car on her way to that convenience store, but was too afraid to flag them down for help. Thankfully, she got away when she got inside the store.
When he had his back turned, that's when she looked at me and was like, help me, help me, help me.
A sign of trouble that Nikki, a convenience store clerk, wasn't able to shake.
All right, you have a good day. I could just tell she had been crying or something was just off with her. You could just tell she was in distress.
According to this PC affidavit, the 17-year-old was kidnapped by a man holding a rope in his hand, threatening her Friday afternoon. The suspect allegedly told her if she asked for help, he would kill her.
The suspect had made threats to harm her, had told her that to come with him. She was unwilling to let her leave, had taken her to a shed where a sexual assault had occurred.
After that alleged assault, you can see the 17-year-old walk in this convenience store from surveillance video provided by the store on South Walker. What you can't tell is that she's being held against her will.
It was there that a clerk had recognized something was not quite right.
You could just tell by the way she was like shaking, you could tell she was not comfortable with the guy she was with.
The store clerk then hid her in the back of the store before calling police.
When he leaves, I go back there. She's curled up in the floor, like rocking back and forth, basically going into detail how she's been held captive. I'm like, well, how old are you? And then she told me she was 17. So I immediately got the phone call, 911, and she was being held against her will.
Thank goodness that she was able to recognize there wasn't something quite right and call 911 to investigate.
Now, that suspect did take off, but police were able to catch him nearby later and arrest him. He faces charges of forcible sodomy and kidnapping.
It's unbelievable, honestly. I have
there's no words I can say honestly to explain.
Jasmine Morales says her family is shocked to learn now former Dorville police officer Miles Bryant has been arrested in connection with the death of her sister Sultana Morales, who went missing 6 months ago.
There's no other words besides that it sucks that it took so long, but I'm guessing that him being an officer has to do with that.
The night of July 26, surveillance video shows Susanna walking down Singleton Road in the direction of her home before she disappeared. Court records indicate Bryant lived near Morales' home. Today, we went to another address in North Cross. It was listed in Bryant's jail records to see if a family member would talk to us. No one came to the door. Well, our search for answers didn't just take us to the address listed on Officer Bryant's jail records, but also to this apartment complex where he lived with his girlfriend and was taken into custody. And now neighbors who live in the area are in disbelief.
It's hard to just put my mind around it right now, that this is the person that's been living over here in this complex. Like, what?
The resident asked us not to disclose her identity out of fear of retaliation, but says while she did not know Brian personally, he has introduced himself several times as a police officer who also moonlighted as security at the complex. And when we asked her about his demeanor for the past 6 months, that resident responded,
smiling, laughing, just living his life. And it's a whole poor baby that's laid out. Like, what? Are you serious? Like, how can you be that cold-hearted?
Now, Dorville Police tells me former Officer Bryant began working with them in 2021 and he was fired Monday after they heard about this investigation.
Brutal attack on some stairs, this one involving 2 young women in town on vacation. Their attackers armed with knives and a taser. And now New York police searching for those thugs. Here's Eyewitness News reporter Josh Einiger.
It can get pretty deserted in the middle of the night at this F-stop in Midwood, and late last night, 2 visitors from Israel exited their train and walked right into an ambush. In video released tonight by the NYPD, you can see a man and a woman set upon them, yanking one of them to the floor of a staircase, grabbing her purse and punching her again and again. It went on for almost 5 sickening minutes. It happened right here as these 2 ladies were heading back to their apartment on their last night here in New York. And while the station might have been empty at the time that this happened, they were not alone. This camera captured the whole thing, including when an unsuspecting passerby interrupted them and walked up the stairs. But instead of running, the assailant hid the knife and taser she'd been brandishing. The victim sat quietly and later got punched for her trouble. The video ends when one of the victims tried to chase the 2 robbers, one of whom shoved her away, and the suspects fled. Now, as police work to find them, the victims, stripped of their phones, their wallets, and their dignity, are on a plane back to Israel with quite a story to tell about their visit to America's safest large city. In the Midwood section of Brooklyn, Josh Einiger, Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
Hi, good evening to you both. Yes, Charles Brown Jr. is the one who called 911 for his supposed friend and business partner. Now, police say he is a convicted felon and wasn't supposed to have a gun in the first place, which is what they say he used to kill Cologne. Now, this is a trend police say they're seeing a lot more often. Police have charged 47-year-old Charles Brown Jr. with murder and more in connection to the death of his business partner and friend, 39-year-old Juan Carlos Colon. Police say on April 27th, Brown Jr. was the one who called 911, saying someone was shot at his business on 270 Forbes Ave. Police responded and found Colon in critical condition. He was sent to the hospital and pronounced dead. Now, the arrest warrant revealing the 2 were business partners for 2 years, working together at an auto shop. The report says the business was failing, and Brown Jr. told police Colon owed him $40,000. He also told them they had gotten into several arguments about this, but nothing physical. That's until Thursday, when Brown Jr. told police they did get physical. So he went into the other room and grabbed his gun. He told investigators he thought Colon was armed, but never saw a gun on him. Brown Jr. told police after he fired the shots, he immediately felt, quote, regret, and called 911. Now, this marks the 10th homicide in New Haven, with police seeing a disturbing trend.
We are, like the rest of the nation, seeing people with, I would call probably minor disputes, ending up in gunplay where people are killed.
Just a message to people out there that if you don't have a gun, you're not going to use a gun.
Police have taken more guns off the streets this year than they have in years past, but the problem is still growing. Meanwhile, Cologne's wife and family are still trying to process what happened. Fox 61 spoke with them exclusively.
He was supposedly a friend. At that moment, he didn't think about anybody but himself. He knew my kids. My son called him Theo.
Now, Brown Jr. is being held on a $2 million bond. He is set to appear in court
He walked into court embarrassed to even show his face.
My life is over, Ray.
Investigators said it was a crime of opportunity.
This heinous crime was given the complete attention of our resources here.
They believe 29-year-old William Harrison entered an 80-year-old woman's home here at the Heritage Estates to steal jewelry, but he went much further.
As heinous as the crime was, it was very upsetting to us to see an 80-year-old go through her whole life and then to have to deal with this.
Arraigned in 41B District Court, William Harrison was charged with first-degree criminal sexual conduct, armed robbery, and a probation violation.
I'm just so sorry for what it's worth. I don't know if my words is good enough. I'm sorry. I don't know what I was thinking, sir.
Police say the victim awoke around 11 p.m. on September 13th to find Harrison lying on top of her. He then wrapped her head in a towel and forced her to open the safe. After taking more than $5,000 in jewelry and cash, Harrison allegedly raped the elderly woman. In court, it was clear Harrison didn't understand the consequences.
You understand the charges? I'm looking at life. You're looking at life?
Since the attack, the victim has not come back here to live. However, for William Harrison, we're told that he has a lengthy criminal history, which includes assault and previous home invasions. He is scheduled to be back in court on October 17th. From Clinton Township, Smita Kaloki, Channel 7 Action News.
Clinton Township police had to go through hundreds of pawn shop receipts to narrow in on William Harrison. They finally located the receipt that matched the description of the missing jewelry, and it had his name on it.
We know more about what happened when a police officer shot and killed a woman in southwest Minneapolis.
Friends say 40-year-old Justine Demond called 911 about a disturbance in the alley behind her home on Saturday night. One of the two responding officers shot and killed the Australian native. The officer who shot Demond is Mohammed Noor. He was sworn in 2015.
This all began around 11:30 Saturday night in southwest Minneapolis, just a few blocks from Lake Harriet. Demond's loved ones say that she called 911. Shortly after that, Noor shot her in an alley about a block from her home. Noor was sitting in the passenger seat of the police cruiser when he fatally shot Demond. Officer Matthew Harity was in the driver's seat. We have team coverage of what has become an international story. We want to begin with Susan Elizabeth Littlefield, who has an update on the investigation.
That's right, Frank. You know, in 2015, Mohammed Noor became an officer here at MPT. He actually made history. He was the first Somali American officer to start working here. But now there are many questions as he's on administrative leave. When Officer Noor and his partner responded to a late-night call, they had their weapons close by. Justine Demond's loved ones say she placed the call for help, a possible assault in the alley. While she stood in the alley talking with the two officers in their cruiser, WCCO has learned Officer Noor reached over his partner, who was in the driver's seat, and shot and killed Demond.
There's a shock that is happening that a Somali police officer shot and killed a woman in Minneapolis.
Despite the name, Mohammed Noor has no direct relation to Officer Noor. He says the officer's job has been a sense of pride for the Somali community.
When he joined the force, everybody was excited. We're always excited when the police officers look like the people that they serve. It opens a big door of whereby you feel welcome, you can trust, you can build that relationship. But this tragedy that happened separates that relationship from what the people are expecting.
Now Noor says he's devastated at the loss of Justine Demond. So is the chief, who made her first public statement, saying, "I understand why so many people have so many questions at this point. I have many of the same questions, and that is why we immediately asked for an external and independent investigation. Questions like, why weren't the officers' body cameras turned on? And why did a call for help end in this cry for answers?" Now, Noor's attorney, Tom Plunkett, gave me a detailed statement. I want to read it to you in part right here. It says that Officer Noor entered the police force to serve the community and to protect the people he serves. Officer Noor is a caring person with a family he loves, and he empathizes with the loss others are experiencing. The current environment for police is difficult, but Officer Noor accepts this as part of his calling. Now, one group we have not heard from, the police union, they say they will not be commenting until this investigation unfolds.
All right, thank you.